Hello again, and welcome back to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. This is episode 74, and we are happy to have Troy, Mountain Man Treasures, with us today. What is
Absolutely.
up, guys?
Yeah, now it's three old guys.
That's
Three
it.
old
That's
guys.
it.
We've lived there a time or two.
Yeah, where do you fit in this equation? Because I'm the oldest one between the two of us. I'll be 44 my birthday this month, actually.
Well, I'm the oldest guy then. Yeah.
Not by much, can't be.
Yeah, at 46, a couple days before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so we're only about a year and a half, maybe 2 years apart, something like that. Yeah.
Who would have thought this right here would be the youngest guy in the room, right?
You really want us to answer that?
No.
Nobody.
If I shaved, I'd look a little closer to you. I think that would take a few years off, but I'd also get in a lot of trouble for my wife, so I can't do that.
Oh, okay. Family beard, huh?
I let mine go usually like 3 or 4 days. Usually in between church, like I'll shave Sunday and Wednesday, and it itches me so, which it ain't much. It's just like enough just to know it's there and aggravate me. And I'm like, I ought to just let it go for like a month or two and see what happens. But I probably would look like one of the most infested dogs, you know, the mange. Yeah. I'd probably look like one of them dogs that'd be missing chunks here and there. And
yeah, you're not one of the hairiest fellers I've ever met.
Well, not here anyway. I'll just leave it at that. It travels other places. Just saying like that. Yeah. That way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It took a turn 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I know. How about that? Good Lord, man.
Is this again? This is not an anatomy class. Josh, I know you as a teacher, but let's get off the lesson here.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow. No, man, it's good to have you here with us today. I'm not as familiar with you as Josh is, but I have been checking you out the last couple of days, and good advice and good stuff, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy the channel.
Yeah, it's always had a great channel.
Yeah, I haven't gotten an upload in a little. Uploads have slowed down for me a little bit, but
yeah,
it's just a product of available time. Honestly,
right.
I've gotten better at not trying to do everything, and so that means when you put time into one thing, you take it away from another.
Yeah.
When you're, I'm not like Kevin. I don't have like indentured servants and family and all that to make do stuff. It's me. And
hold on. I got to make some notes.
New branches of inventory, like I'm gonna, of selling or whatever. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Okay, well that's all you got time for. So when you add a number 4, you got to pull it from somewhere. And I've been pulling it from YouTube. I had to pick somewhere.
Right.
That's the one that's taken the hit, and I feel bad about it. But I about burnt myself out trying to keep everything at 100%. It's not healthy.
Oh, it's not even possible. I don't think. I've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times I'm running at 60 to 70% max on everything, and to me that's more exhausting. Because my nature is not to be that way. My nature, if I'm going to do 3 things, I want to be able to give 100% of the effort it requires to all of them. And so yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I suffer more from the mental strain of feeling like I'm letting everything down when I start letting that happen than if I just let something go, and I've had to do that more lately because of circumstances, in our situation in life. You got to prioritize, like you said. And sometimes it's not even about big things or bad things going on. It's just picking, what's most important to you at the time.
Right.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I kind of had a dose of reality hit me. I had a really good sales weekend considering how slow I've been. I had 20 go out today, and like I've not had probably more than like 6 or 7 go out over the weekend in a couple of months. Just because my listing slowed way down where we moved, and I'm still working on projects and all that stuff. And I guess fourth quarter kicked in pretty good over here. Sent out 20. I guess it was somewhere around $400 or $500. It wasn't huge, but it was good. I ain't complaining about it at all since I'm, officially part-time, not going to complain. But yeah, when you go out there and you start packing, and it's like, man, I forgot what it was like to pack more than 3 or
Yep.
4. You know, like
Yeah.
it gets to you, and
Yeah.
it's.
Well,
But
send
I
a couple
totally,
my way. You know, I'll take a couple of those from you because I'm down, man. Like,
Yeah.
I actually looked before we got on. I'm the eBay statistics say I'm down 23% in the
oh
last
my goodness,
last
Wow.
month. It's and that happens. You know, I'm not yeah.
But now, and
It's
I'm
just
curious
I'm
about,
not getting on a Facebook group saying, you know, eBay's throttling my listings or they're hiding things or that.
no,
I don't buy into any of the conspiracy theories. You know,
right.
there are days where I've listed, fewer things, but I'm still listing. I'm still active. And for whatever reason, sales aren't happening. It just happens, you know?
But I mean, on one hand too, I think we all, if we've been, if you've been reselling for any time at all, and I mean, say past 2 or 3 years at least, and doing it consistently listing, selling on eBay, we all know when we're going through a spell for several weeks, even if we are listing, when the overall quality of the stuff we're listing just isn't really where we want it to be, and we know what the result's going to be. We know that we're always going to pick up those straggling sales and sales from promotion, sales from things that we're doing to try to stimulate business on the old stuff. And there's going to be some things that just sell over time like that. But, probably 50% of our sales, if we're finding good stuff, is coming from the new listings.
Yep.
But if what we're finding is just mediocre and okay, stuff you'll pick up because it will sell,
Yeah.
but it's not going to sell, I mean, you got to have some of those things that, you list it and it sells in a day, 2 days, sells the same day. I mean, it's those sales through the week when you're constantly finding good stuff that really, to me, drives the profitability side.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, I've been full aware, like I've been working back to a lot of old back stock and listing some things that I have been avoiding listing. So I know that part of the reason why I'm not making the sales I was making a month ago is because of the type of inventory I'm listing, but it needs listed. I
Right.
can't sell it if I don't list it. And it's my
That's
fault
where
for
I'm
not
at.
working it
Yeah.
in,
Yeah. That's where I'm
So,
at too. And,
yeah.
and now, I mean, I'm in Montana. It's, actually, I think it'll be 50 degrees today, which is warmer than it's been, but we're getting snow in the region.
Yeah.
So garage sales are pretty much dried up now for me. So now it turns to all the stuff that I've got, like you said, that I haven't listed for whatever reason, mostly because I didn't want to, or, just because it piled up.
Mhm.
I try to overbuy so that I have some stuff to feed off of. But some of that isn't the best, or it's the $10 DVD, I sold like 4 of those this weekend. Okay, that's
Yeah.
great, but they were $9.98 DVDs, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's listing that stuff, and then it's finding, how do I find other stuff? It's branching out and trying.
Yeah.
I bought some stuff from an online auction the other day, so hopefully I'll get some of that here pretty soon. I can list some of that, and so it becomes harder to find that quality stuff. At least here where we have seasons. You guys don't really have seasons, so you're fine.
No, but like for me, I still like I don't get to because of my situation. We take care of my mom, and I'm here with her all the time. She's got advanced dementia, and so I mean, I've only been out to yard sales maybe like 3 times this whole spring and fall. I mean, 3-4 times maybe, not counting when we went to the 127, and we didn't go that much there. But I mean, I don't get to do that a whole lot. I just don't have the opportunity to leave because we don't have a lot of options on someone else to sit with her. So I've had to do a lot more. I've had to look for other sourcing opportunities. And so I'm curious. That kind of makes me curious with some of the things you were saying, because, if you live in a part of the country where you either don't have access or where the time frame for your sourcing, I mean, because I would love to be at garage sales,
Right.
like every weekend, as long as they're going on. But if you can't do that, then what are the other options? How do we fulfill that need of access and, inventory, not paying too much for it, where we still have enough profit margin to be able to keep our head above water and actually make a good profit? Because, you can find stuff, whether it's auctions or buying, like Kevin with his Commons thing now. There's avenues. I mean, even on eBay. I mean, if you go in and search bulk listings and lots of stuff, you can find inventory. But at the same time, if you end up working yourself to death to list 25 items that are going to make you $5 each, I mean, are you really making a good use of your time? I mean, it's So, I mean, I think it's important though, trying to find those other avenues. Like I've been looking at storage lockers because it would be easier for me to find someone like a family member that I could let my mom stay with for like half a day while I go clean out, not like a huge store, but a smaller one, while I go do that early one morning, than it would be for me to ask someone on a Saturday. I mean, people are busy on their Saturdays. That's a hard day to get people to commit, So anyway, but I mean, we got to figure out ways to access inventory. That's really important.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, fourth quarter. So it's time, basically, if you have not gotten ready, if you're listening to this show today and you have not gotten ready for fourth quarter, what are you waiting for? Because it's here, here. Can you guys believe it is November? Like, I blinked and it was November 1st. And I'm like, where did it go? Because I mean, Josh can tell you, it seems like it was just a few weeks ago we bought the house. Yeah. That was April.
Yeah.
And it's like 6 months later, I can't even catch up with myself, much less keep up with everything that's going on. And I'm totally not ready. Like, as far as getting ahead, I wanted to be back over 1,000 listings. I know it's in my mind, the number. But I wanted to be back over 1,000. I'm at 820 or 15 or something like that. And, but yeah, if you're not ready for the fourth quarter, you better ramp up, buy your supplies. Like today, I just got a delivery of bubble wrap from American Bubble Boy today. And I had to order it Friday because I went out there to pack and I've got like a half a roll of bubbles. And I'm like, why do I not pay attention better to this stuff? Something's wrong with me. I just don't pay attention. I'm too scattered. Like, I'm here in the house, I'm out there, and I need it all back in one spot. That's my mentality. Like, I can't get it together. And then I've got all this other stuff. Like, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it's kind of hard, but this ain't the time of year to put a lot of pressure on yourself. In that respect, my priorities need to be kind of streamlined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news though is, it on the calendar, it's fourth quarter, but selling wise, fourth quarter, we really only sell during it ramps up, hopefully, in the last like half of the fourth quarter, right? Like, so you still have a couple of weeks. Like, I mean, on the calendar, it's time, but the sales, a lot, especially newer resellers, a lot of them are going, I thought things were supposed to go crazy in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's October 1st.
When do you do your Christmas shopping? Right? Like, nobody,
that's it.
A handful of people do it early, but it starts to get near the end of November, and then people go, "Oh, Christmas is coming."
Yeah, Christmas.
Before things start really ramping up.
Well, and like October is probably, I mean, for me, is a better month than a lot of the other months, but it's marginal. It's not like you're saying. It's not like a huge increase in October, but there's a marginal bump, I think. Because there are those people that are actively trying to get ahead of the curve, and that does maybe put a few more buyers into the market than you normally have, but it's not enough to really. I mean, if that was what we based it on, it wouldn't be nothing to to write home about. But like I said, I really think, especially post Thanksgiving, and even though that's late, I just think a lot of people, like, they want to get Thanksgiving behind them, and then they're in a mad rush that last week or two. That's why the post office always get so backed up that week and a half before Christmas, because they get such an influx of all these packages people are getting at the last minute trying to finish up their Christmas shopping. And that's been for years. I mean, before reselling was even as big as it is, when it was ordering from catalogs and stuff, people would still wait and they'd place their orders where it was going to be a time crunch, to get them in time to, I mean, I remember those times, well, we got you something, but we're going to have to wait. It hadn't, it's on its way,
Picture of it.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm curious about something else. I know that you've got a booth. Mm-hmm. It's something I'm really interested in, but I've kind of been back and forth. I don't have the time currently, but if situation changes, at some point in the future, it's something I'm really looking at. But like around here, you kind of alluded to, like our weather. So like we have a lot longer seasons where people can get out and go to garage sales, yard sales, auctions, that type of thing, that are outdoors, and they kind of enjoy that too. Flea markets, all kinds of stuff like that. Even though we don't have flea markets super close to me, there are several in the state, 2 to 3 hours away, and they draw big crowds, and their seasons are pretty long that they're in operation. But there's also been, I think a lot of it was stimulated probably by the American Pickers thing, and Salvage Dogs and some of those shows that did that sort of thing. But all these flea malls that have popped up, old furniture store closes down, that's got, 10,000 square feet, and someone buys it and turns it into a flea mall with, 500 booths in it.
Yeah.
And but it seems like there's way too many of them, right? In such a small populated area, a lot of times there'll be 3 of them competing for one little town that's got like 10,000 people. And those people have to decide, are we going to the flea mall, or are we going, because people that do that usually also will go to thrift stores or we go to yard sales. And so I feel like they struggle to get enough clientele in here. Do you have the same thing there since your season is shorter and the opportunities are less? Did the flea malls do better?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing to have. We're now a year and a month or so into having done that experiment, and I hear what you're saying. I don't think we have that here because we have we're about 30. I bet 35,000 people in the immediate area right now, and we only have, at least in town, there's only one. Previously there was only one store.
Right.
One antique store, and it's packed. It's the one where you walk in and you're like, you don't want to turn sideways. And once people get in there, they don't leave because it was the only one. And so the reason that the one that I'm in opened was because of that. Like, one of the ladies that opened it she couldn't get in to the one that's here. And so finally her and her daughter, it was like, well, why don't we just open one? And so they did. And it works well, I think, because it's something different. And I wasn't sure if it was going to last, right? I wasn't sure if people would be like, oh, that's a new thing, and you go see the new thing, and then it kind of peters off. But it's gonna I mean, it's a year later and we're still doing very well. And so I think we found a niche that there just wasn't quite enough. We actually just in the last couple of days, I think they finally opened a new area downstairs that's got 11 new vendors in it. And so now there's in the neighborhood of 60, 62, something like that, vendors in the place. And we do run into that of when we were talking, because I work closely with the owners and in a couple of side projects and stuff.
Right.
And so the discussion was like, hey, we want to expand. Lots of people want in, but you can't expand too much because it waters down the entire store.
Yeah.
And so there was concerns of like, if we add too many, then the existing vendors are not going to get the traffic. And so it is a little bit of a tightrope.
Right.
But for me, it's been fantastic. It worked as far as just a concept for the store itself. And then for us, it really worked. I mean, when I was setting up, there was a little bit of imposter syndrome, because I'm not the traditional, I don't have the traditional antique or vintage mall stuff. It's not all the glass, and it's not all the I don't know, the art and all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm setting up between all these people. When we were setting up the booth, everybody's bringing in their really nice furniture and their really nice stuff. And I'm like, that's not what I sell. And what's been really nice is our booth is pretty consistently in the top 5 to 10 sellers every month.
Wow.
It's a good, it's turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
A little bit different. We have one guy that's set up right next to us that has a lot of the same, retro toys and, the vintage 80s, 90s toys, comic books, vinyl, stuff like that. I mix in some of that stuff that you would normally see.
Yeah.
But a lot of, our booth is our booth, and the guy next to us, Mike, it's different. And I think it works. We have customers now that come into the store and they head right back there because they know what we have. It's what they're looking for. So it doesn't matter that it's not like 95% of the rest of the store. It actually helps us out now.
And I'm assuming too, because I mean, like in just a little exchange on Instagram with you, you referenced the time that you spend there. So I think that's another issue a lot of times with those booths is people will get it set up and kind of full. And if it doesn't sell well, within the first week or so, like they just go and put a few things out as space clears out. They don't reset. They don't rethink. Like if it's not doing well, they don't go back and think, okay, I got to reprice. I got to restructure. I got to think about why this inventory isn't moving here. Maybe get rid of it, stock with something else. And I think, maybe because you spend a lot of time, I don't know how much you work on like even the presentation, but not only presentation, but refreshing the inventory. Because if you get people coming in regular and you're selling a unique set of items and it changes regular, then that's important. If they're going to come in once a week and come to your booth, if they came 3 weeks in a row, it's almost no change. Right. The odds of them continuing to come back week by week are going to be slim. But if it's like a brand new yard sale, of vintage items that they love every week, that's got 15, 20, 30, 40 new things setting out that they can look at, I think that makes it worthwhile to them. So
yeah, 100%. Like even if it's, I don't know why they call it fluffing. I think it's a terrible term that they use. But that's what they call it. Is they go in and they fluff the booth. And so even if you're not putting new stuff in, the idea is move the stuff that you have in there around a little bit, put it in a different spot. And I've seen it, like something's been sitting there for months, it didn't sell. I move it to a different shelf and it sells in a couple days. It's just because it's a different eye line, it's a different place. Maybe it's just a person came in and it's the first time they saw it, but it happened often enough that you move things around and then something sells.
No, I 100% think it's visibility, because I mean, think about how many times you've went back and watched your videos, as we all do, right? From a garage sale, yard sale, and you wonder, how in the world did I miss this, and this that day? How did I miss it? It was an obvious pickup.
Right.
But because of the way it's positioned, the way it's set, and the way they have the stuff arranged, it's like it just gets lost. It's like, where's Waldo? Waldo's so small and don't have the right color shirt on, so you can't find him, and it's that kind of situation. And I think, like you said in the booth, I even think about, you go to trying to get traction on your videos with your thumbnail. There's so much about the way that's constructed, because if you don't have the focus on the right thing, the part that actually captures attention, if it's just focused the wrong way by the eyes, you can lose traffic because of that, lose clicks. And I mean, I think same way with selling product, whether it's on site, like with you at the store, or if it's, even how we take our pictures, you got to focus on, that's the hard thing. I think about that a lot. Like, what's the best way to position an item for that main photograph, that main picture? So when those top results pop up on the screen, it draws attention to mine,
right,
and not to the others, because if they sort by price, the top 6, 8, 10 listings are going to be priced very similarly. So how do you get them to go, ooh, that one looks nice,
That's when the girl with the bikini holding it, right?
Yeah.
You've seen some of those.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. And but at the end of the day, the booth has just been nice to also, because when I show up at a sale and, a year ago, I would have gone, well, there's nothing here for me, and walked out. Now I can look at something and go, you know what, that's going to sell in the booth, that I can buy and specifically source for the booth. And so it's really opened up sourcing for me. So that helped, because now I'm not getting skunked at a sale. Maybe I didn't find anything for eBay at the garage sale, but I found $50 worth of merchandise for the booth.
Right.
So that really helped with sourcing. And then even, because it's so, what's the word I want? It's so visceral, right? Like you see it in front of you. I've sold, one of the things it is easy, I guess, is the Disney vinyl. Sometimes it has book, but sometimes it's just a vinyl and it's Cinderella or it's Snow White or whatever, Winnie the Pooh. Those don't sell online because there's 700 listings.
Right.
And I'll be like 3 sold. I don't know how many between myself and the guy next to me, Mike. We sell them all the time for like $10. If I find them, I pick them up now, because I can put it in the booth, because people see them and then they're not looking for it. eBay, they have to be looking for it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Here, see it in front of them and they go, oh, I remember that when I was a kid. And if you price it at the impulse price, you got to find that impulse price of willing to spend that much, and they don't really have to think about it. We sell that stuff all the time. And so it's really interesting. I had the other day, I brought in a little carved wooden owl. I got up to find something that I sold on eBay off of my shelf, and I saw that tucked way in the back corner. And I was like, you know what? That's been listed on eBay literally for years. Maybe I should just try it in the booth. It's just sitting on eBay. And so I killed it off of eBay. I brought it in on a Tuesday, and it sold on Thursday in the booth for basically the same price I had it on eBay, because somebody saw it. Nobody's on there looking for vintage folk art wooden carved owl. Exactly. A specific buyer, but somebody that likes owls walking through the store goes, oh, cool. So it really does open up a new avenue of being able to sell stuff. And when eBay's slow, I can look and go, yeah, but I sold $50 in the store today. I sold $100 in the store today. It helps sort of supplement the income a little bit.
And I can totally see, especially like you said, I would assume, I don't know this, but like having walked through many of them myself and even source some from them, because I mean, you can find things by the same token that people only sell that way. But on eBay, the market, they have to sell it at the price that it's selling their booth, but on eBay to sell for 3 times what they have it priced at. So, you don't find a ton of things, but if you are really observant, once you learn more, you can pick off some pretty good stuff there. But the Disney stuff, I would assume, I know there's really high end Disney stuff that sells great on eBay. It's like anything else, but I could totally see, because it's the popularity, and there is a large, especially where we live. I mean, there's a lot of folks around here still don't shop online that much. I mean, in rural Alabama, I don't trust putting my car. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, And so if they can't find it at a physical location, they don't buy it. And just if for nothing else, but like for home decor, I mean, because they got kids and they want to, you mentioned the Disney albums. I could totally see them, taking the album cover, if it's got nice art on it, and using it for a wall hanging or something like that. I mean, just because,
I've had several customers like, hey, do you have more? Because I'm putting it in a frame and we're decorating a nursery.
And go to one of these stores that sells home decor that has a Disney print on it, and compare the price of a $10 album versus buying one of theirs.
Yeah.
I mean, something that they have. I mean, you're talking about $30 or $40 for a generic screen print on a piece of canvas or something, versus you buy the nostalgic old record and hang that on the wall. I mean, so I get it. That's good stuff.
It's interesting how it sort of, at least for me, it also sort of mirrors, when like October was a little bit down for me, a little bit in the store. Still better than a lot of them and still pretty good, but down from previous months. September and October were down from like the previous 6 months, same as eBay for me. So it's interesting that the patterns actually kind of follow each other, though. The one difference is the summer, because we have a good tourist season. We actually did really well in the booth. We didn't slow down in the booth at all. We got better because we're positioned pretty much in the middle of Glacier and Yellowstone National Park. So a lot of times people come in and they want to visit one or both of them. Right. They stay here and then they drive to visit one. Well, a lot of times they drive back, they stay here, and then they go visit the other one. Or we have the mountain biking, or we have fishing, or whatever it is. So we end up getting a pretty good tourist season, and a lot of people come in and want to pick up something to remember their trip. And that's when I started sourcing specifically Montana stuff. That won't sell the rest of the year, or not very well. But tourists come in, they want to buy something that reminds them of their Montana trip. So I started putting more Montana specific things in, and a lot of those sold. So it's reading just like eBay. It's reading
exactly
what's hot right now, what makes sense, right? Like fourth quarter, new and sealed stuff.
Yes, what I was thinking.
They want to give it for Christmas. Now, I think it's opening up the last few years. People are more open to giving and receiving, like not a new thing, right? Like, hey, this is a vintage, what's it? And they're cool with that. I think that's opened up a little bit. And you'll see used things sell over Q4 as well, but really new things, that there's things that I buy that don't have a great sell-through rate in the summer, because I look at it and go, I think somebody will buy that in the Q4 because it's new.
Yep, absolutely.
I think around here, if it's been done before, the flea mall, we had a place. It's now a motorsports, like a four-wheeler motorcycle dealer. But before it was that, probably 15 years ago, somebody opened a mini flea mall in there, and it had, it probably had like 25, 30 booths. It wasn't huge, but it was decent. But the culture around the thrift store scene here has changed so much. Like 5 years ago, me and my wife in the wintertime, we could source from our thrift stores and do really well. Like we could go in and spend $50 and find $400 or $500 worth of stuff. Now they've caught on. Well, they think they've caught on. Some do their homework and they are actually comping what stuff sells for and then going at like 40 and 50%. Others are seeing this thing's listed for $100. I'm going to ask 75, when in reality it didn't really sell for $100. They just seen a listing. But I feel like around here, and I've actually thought about doing this in the past, me and my wife have talked about it, It would just need to be opportunity, means, everything coming together. But opening a thrift store that would actually bring back the desired price point, like what you talked about, the impulse point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I walk in to our thrift stores. Just the other day we went and we bought like 2 things for us. But I see a lot of stuff that I would probably buy, but it's literally probably 3 times more than my initial. Like I pick it up and I say, well, I'd give 10. Oh, they want 30. Like I just can't. And as a reseller, we all understand, there's a point where you're buying into too much of a risk and it's not going to pay off. If something goes wrong, you've lost a lot more than you could have gained. So, just around here, and I don't know how it would be for y'all.
I think that can work. I've actually got a buddy here that, what's it been, maybe 2 years now, that had that same, that exact same idea of, he grew up going to thrift stores with his mom and, remember doing that. And all the thrift stores he was like an assistant manager at one of the thrift stores here in town, and was just frustrated with that, of how like prices and just the attitude had. And so he finally went, you know what, I'm going to take the leap. And he opened his own thrift store. And he, like, I think yesterday for him was $1 day. Like literally everything in the store is $1. And people and they fill up their bags. He's like all of his clothes normally, because they get so many clothes. I think it's $2 a piece that he puts on clothes, whether it's a shirt and he does siphon off some of the high end stuff that comes in and sells it on eBay, but not all of it. Like he grabs the very upper end. So you can still find really good stuff in his store sometimes, because it's donations. He gets it for free.
Yeah.
And so that's his idea is, I get it for free, or he does go and buy storage lockers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he gets so many donations, and the idea, and that's sort of how I run my booth a little bit. I have a lot of lower dollar stuff in there. It's a volume game.
Yeah.
So for him, if he does everything at $1, but somebody comes in and spends $25,
still $25,
$10 if they came in and bought one thing.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know his financials, but I have a pretty good idea. I think he's doing well.
Well, here's the thing,
love him.
How many of us on eBay would sell something that we have $0 in for $25 every day of the week? I mean, that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
We end up spending $7 and $8 sometimes to sell something for $25 and maybe 10 on it, So, I mean, it's all in how you look at things. That's what's frustrated me with the thrift stores around here. Even everyday items, they're getting to where like they're pricing like music CDs across the board, $3 each, $3 each.
Oh.
I'm like, some of them aren't even, you wouldn't even pay a quarter because they're just no good. They don't care if they're scratched. They don't check to see if they're in there.
Oh, I know.
But it's the same way with clothing and stuff like that. I mean, the prices have gotten so just ridiculous, like how they do it. And then the really bad thing is, like, our largest chain here in my area, it's America's Thrift Store. It used to be called Alabama's Thrift Store, but they call it America's. I guess maybe it expanded beyond Alabama or got bought up by some other one that's regional in the South. But anyway, I've been in there like on days, because you try to go and they'll put stuff out all through the day, but then I don't know if it's once a month. I don't know how often they do this, but I've watched them going down the hard goods aisles with these huge trash bins, and they're almost just raking stuff off of them. And it's, granted, a lot of it is garbage when it goes out. I get that. It's stuff that's not, but there's a lot of stuff, and I'll see them. There's stuff that I wouldn't buy because they got $5 on it, and it might only sell for 15 or for 12 or 14, but it's got it sells decent. It's just not something I spend $5 or $6 on. Yeah. But they're just raking and letting it break, going to go throw it in the trash can. Yeah. I mean, that's all they're doing. And it's like, if you'd have priced that at $1, somebody would have already bought it.
Yeah, we were talking before the show. I've been going to physical therapy. My shoulder's all messed up, and I don't go to Goodwill very often anymore.
Right.
But literally, the rehab office is directly behind Goodwill, and so that's like once a week. When I've been going to my physical therapy, I'm like, okay, well, when I'm done, I zip into Goodwill, and usually I'm in and out in about 5 to 10 minutes because there's just nothing. But I've been noticing, like the other day I went and I thought, I need to get a little bowl for the Halloween candy, right? Like, I don't want to use one of our nice mixing bowls or whatever, because I just set it outside on a chair and I was like, have at it, kids. Like, I didn't want to put a nice bowl out there. So I thought I'll go to Goodwill and get something. So you go down their Halloween aisle, and all of the and they're made in China new. They probably ordered them wholesale, Halloween bowls. $7.99 on these things for plastic. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? I found an old one that had a tag on it for $2.99. I was like, okay, that's it, because I'm going to use it once and it's coming back to you. Like, who's going to pay $8? And that's why they had a stack of them. Who's going to pay $8 for an orange plastic bowl?
No,
and they've got baseball hats for like $5, $6, $7.
Yeah.
They've got I used to get hats there all the time. And now, I mean, it's very rare. I did buy a hat for $5 because I sold it for 15 and I knew it would sell right away. I actually shipped it out this weekend. It lasted a week. But even then, there's not a whole lot of profit. I just knew it was a fly fishing brand that does well. But generally, I'm not spending that much on a hat there. Like, or anything there.
Well, and my thing is, even on that, like, if they were truly doing research, like if they actually hired people at each location that at least had enough experience that they could pull, like you said, like your friend does, the higher end items, the truly higher end items out, even on vintage stuff. Like if it was a shark tooth hat that was from the 90s, or the diamond hat, something that sells for $50 to $100 pretty consistent, they could put $10 on that behind and resellers would buy it. Because they know it's going to still sell quick and it's going to sell for a good profit.
Yeah.
If they're putting $5 on hats, you can't get $8 for ours, and that just blows my mind.
They do have what's apparently I've been told it's called at least the employees there, they call it a red list. They didn't used to. I have a friend, a reseller in town that used to. I mean, he could make a living if that's all he did was going into Goodwill and picking up Carhartt and Pendleton and all that. He was very good at finding all the old vintage outdoor clothing. Very good. He made a lot of money over the years. And that stopped about, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, something like that. They've got a list in the back of brands when they're sorting stuff that brand doesn't go out to the floor. So it's very rare that you find any of that stuff out on the floor anymore, because it never makes it to the floor. It all goes online. They put it in another pile and it goes to, I think, Salt Lake City. And it goes online. Now, I'm not going to begrudge them for that. I mean, it's still a business and they've got to make money. But, it just makes it harder reseller wise. The very top brands, unless they missed one, and they do time to time, they're not making the floor anymore.
I think you're right, though, when you say that about your friend. I think that has the potential, maybe in time to maybe be a new, maybe you call it a niche for people that are in the reselling business. If they can find a reasonably priced, place to either lease or even to buy, or a spot where they could build a small, metal building and kind of start their own thrift supply store, because you can still pull off something. Like I said, you can only list so much anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to have the right mindset, but you can still pull off some things and list like that. But then if you could build the reputation, that for resellers, like when they come in your store, they're going, like you said, they're going to have access to good inventory, that there's plenty of profit left to be made. Then by volume, because I've got friends that own thrift stores and run them, and their biggest issue is being able to get all the inventory out. That's their problem. They get more donations, even when it's just a local one that's not tied to some big, organization or charity. They can't put everything out that they get. They have to literally put messages out, no donations, for the next 2 weeks. We don't have any room to store the donations. And so, I think that's a great avenue to find profitability doing reselling, even if you're not reselling online.
Yeah. Well, and if you're looking, I mean, we've sort of touched on, finding other ways to make the money, right? When that would be one. That's obviously a big one. You're taking a big step for that.
Yeah.
I've got a friend here that I work with. She's got a booth at the vintage store also. That's how I met her. We've actually split. I put some stuff in her booth and she puts one in mine, and then one opened. We're like, well, hey, let's just split that one. And so now we have another one that we did all Halloween, and now we're getting ready tonight. We'll turn it over to all Christmas. But she has started within the last 6 months or so of becoming basically a estate sale company. Because we've got a couple here in town.
Yeah.
But because we only have a handful, there are people that get turned away. That I just helped her with a sale a couple weekends ago that got turned away from the biggest one in town because they said, you know what, it's not going to work for us. There's not enough money in it for us, because there was so much stuff. They'd have to have their employees in there pricing everything. And like, it was a big house and there was a lot of stuff. And so for them, the investment of time wasn't worth it. So Bridget, her mom helped her. There were a couple of resellers, myself and another helped her. And we went for 3 days and we sold so much stuff, and we sold it at good prices because we wanted it gone. Yeah. And so that would be another avenue for people if they're willing to put in the work. I mean, it's a lot of work to get ready for those, but there's also a lot of profit there potentially if you're doing it all yourself. And you're willing to spend a week, pricing and then selling things and then dealing with it afterwards, cleaning out all that. It's definitely a business opportunity for somebody that is willing to put in that work and that has the time.
Do you have any of those estate sale companies in your area that also have their own store?
Not their own store, but they'll have like a warehouse. Yeah. And so then it's, hey,
I'll do a warehouse sale.
Our sale. Well, it's all the leftovers from other estate sales, or you'll go to their sale one week and then you go the next week and you see stuff that you saw the last week because they keep recycling.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. We've got a couple. I mean, there's some that are really good. You look for those because they're very fair with their prices, and you can usually find good stuff. But then we've got a couple that I'm telling you, even when it gets to the 50% off day, most of the stuff still there's just nothing. Yep. There's nothing there. I mean, the prices are so inflated, even over eBay prices. I mean, you can have the same item delivered to your home for $10, $15 less. There's just no way to make money on it. But I think part of the reason they do that is because at the end, especially on some of the higher end goods, when they do the clean out, it goes into their own store, and whatever money that they've got an idea. And I'm not trying to be conspiracy here, but I think they've got an idea after talking with the people that are having the estate sale done, what their expectation is in terms of what they're going to get out of it. As long as they meet that number, but they can collect a lot of really good inventory for their private store. I mean, I'm afraid that's what it appears to me like, because I go in their store and it's like, it's all really good stuff, Yeah. And
I think there is some of that. Yeah, for sure. But then you get, then at least the people that routinely go to them, you figure out the companies. I know the one where there's going to have to be stuff there that I really want because it's high priced.
Oh yeah.
There's another one where I'm like, you know what? Their stuff is usually pretty fair, and I can find something there, and the money is, I'm not getting it for dirt cheap, but it's going to be a fair price that there's still room for me to make profit.
Exactly.
I go to that one. If I have to pick between the two, I go to that one every time.
Absolutely.
I go to the high price guy sometimes because it depends on my mood. There are days where I'm like, I don't even want to mess with it because you have to really dig and really work to find that he missed. But there are days where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find the stuff he missed. And I found actually somebody recently apparently found one of the, I think it was the number 2 Barbie that they made, like one of the very first ones in just a baggie of, because it wasn't marked. It wasn't. So anything that's very easy to look up, they're going to get that stuff. But it's the stuff that's loose and stuff like that takes time to research. She probably got it for $5 and it's like $1,000+ Barbie. It's a big deal. I got a buddy that's found, he found one just a couple weekends ago. It's a book on elk. I don't know why, but it was a very limited run. And it seems like it must have been a regional thing because he's found it twice now. And he just sold it for $523.
Gee whiz.
He got it from this guy for like $2 because he just bulk prices most of his books.
Oh,
so, you can go in and find, I got from him a whole bunch of like movies at one sale here just very recently because he bulk priced all of the movies. Well, I found a bunch of like sealed steelbook X-Men movies that aren't in print, that are very collectible. I've sold several at like $50-$60. I've got one that'll go for about $100 eventually. So you can find, even at those sales where they're overpriced, start to learn the stuff. I know media he doesn't look into, loose toys he doesn't look into, books he started to figure out some of the books because I think he notices we keep grabbing the same type of stuff, and so that he starts to take a look at it. But even then, you can still, there are areas that they ignore because there's too much stuff.
Well, books and media is so broad. It's so broad too. It's like you can keep learning forever and never know all the things you should be looking for without having to look it up. I mean, that's just that's the way it is.
It just comes down to a matter of what's been said. Time. How are you going to look up everything?
Yeah.
And if you're an estate sale company, if you've got 5 employees, you've got them spread pretty thin doing pricing and display and setup and all this, and you just don't have time to check everything.
Yep.
No.
In my mind, in this town, knowing the way all the thrift stores are priced, I feel like a person could set up a thrift store, and I know you can't value every single thing that comes through, but you could probably get 20% really quick, 20 to 25% of eBay value on everything in the store and keep it flowing pretty fast, because most of our stores now they're north of 50% of eBay. And just the other day, I was in our local Habitat, which used to be an awesome thrift store. Like the old manager, you would go in there every 2 or 3 days and the whole store had been wiped out. She priced right. She moved stuff like it was just good. And they made a ton of money. Well, the new younger management has the mindset of get the max amount. Well, so stuff sits there and sits there. But there was a golf club. I picked it up. I was like, oh, this must be good. It's $35. And it's like a Northwestern yada yada. I'm like, this is like a $20 club.
Yep.
On eBay, and you've got it priced at $35. Like, where in the world do you get this at? But no, I totally agree. Like, all it is, basically to me, the way I think is the way a lot of resellers think. I need to buy something I can flip. I want to flip it kind of quick, and I don't want a ton in it. So if you can capitalize on that mindset, I mean, you've won probably more than half the battle right there. Now you just got to get all the logistics. Can I afford the rent? Blah, 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 whatever. But if we had a prime location here, like if we could rent, I mean, ideally like on Main Street, somewhere we've got an old part of town, a newer part of town. If we could get on Main Street where visibility was high, man, I don't know if I'd have enough time to eBay. I just say it like that. Like, I think it would kill, because almost every thrift store here, it ends up happening. They just, I don't know if you want to call it get greedy, or they just get that mindset of we can make this, and then they don't, and then they go out of business. And it's like, figure it out. Cause there's really one reason that happened, and it's not because there's not customers out there. We're out there,
Well, it's like my booth. Like I said, it's a volume thing for me. Like I have a lot of things in my booth that are, it's the idea of impulse buys, and I have things that are for kids. Like I have a low shelf. It's got, like plush, old plush stuff that the kids are going to find it while the parents are looking around, and it's $5-6. Well, they'll get it for their kids so he can haul it around while they look at their shabby chic stuff. Yeah. And I probably, if I went and looked at monthly, I probably average selling about 120, 130 items out of my booth a month.
Wow.
And I've got a ton of stuff in there that's I saw a notification come across. I sold something for $3. I got a lot of like $3 to $10 stuff. And then you sprinkle in the 50 and the 75 and stuff like that. And your volume, and then you sell the good things that are higher dollar. It's a marriage together for me, and it works. It absolutely works.
I think that's all of reselling. It's not, there's no one secret sauce, it is a good blend of a lot of different things. And, it just so happens the biggest part of my ingredients would be eBay, but you still have to keep an open mind. Like, how can I potentially make money on this? I can't, it's not going to happen on eBay. What else can I do?
Yep.
And just using that type of mindset.
Yeah.
Well, let's hit up a couple of our segments, because man, time has run off and left us on the show today. It's been an easy conversation.
Well,
it's been great.
If you want to keep going, I'll keep going with you guys. I don't care.
Well, let's hit up a comment of the week. Comment of the week. That's what that is. I'm gonna read mine right quick. Josh, you can read yours.
Okay.
Coppercat 8383 said, one of the best ways I save money is learning to walk away from items for resale, to be more picky. And of course, last week we were talking about how to save money in your business. And that is a hard to master skill, but it is a good one to learn because, for instance, this weekend we went to probably the last community sale, highway type sale we're going to have around here this year. And I picked up a Ninja Turtles van. It was missing a door, but I didn't buy it to sell. Actually, I bought it for my shelf in my reselling space when I get it all finished. I thought this will look really good out there. So I impulsed, like you said, he said $5. I'm like, oh yeah. I took off with it. I get it home and this thing is filthy. Like it's sitting outside. I alcoholed it. I hope I don't ruin it. I've alcoholed it because it needs sanitized. And then I may have to take the water hose to it. I mean, it's bad. So now that was for me. So it's a little different. But there's a time where if I seen anything Ninja Turtle, I'm just going to grab it. Like Ghostbusters, grab it. And it's not always a good idea because it may be broke all to pieces or, just wore completely out where it ain't worth nothing. So it's a good thing to learn. Now, I ain't going to stand there all day and be like, do I want it? Do I not want it? Do I want it? I'm going to be like, no, move on. Or, So it's a good skill to learn when to walk away, when to be more picky.
Yeah, that buyer's remorse feeling's not a good one when you get home.
I don't like it.
Why did I do this?
That's not my favorite feeling.
For me, it's not always when I get home. It's, that applies to me, but for stuff that then creates the base of my death pile. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of times big, bulky stuff. So I've gotten much better at asking myself, looking at it going, I can make profit on that. Maybe it's $100, but then I'm better now at saying, but will you list it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to be honest with myself of if you get that thing, you better list it. I got stuff sitting over here in my garage that's been here for a year because I don't want to list it because I don't, it's generally electronics. I don't want to test it.
Yeah.
I'm worried about it breaking or the returns or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm getting much better at just determining, is that going to just sit around and take up space? Are you going to actually make the money on it?
And it's hard. It's a hard thing to accept. And the problem with that kind of stuff to me is like I've got 2 record players. I've had one for probably over 2 years. It's the realistic. It's the model that it is. I think it booked for like $450 or something. Paid like $30 for it. It's in great shape, but I haven't listed it. I mean, that's just the reality. I haven't listed. I've got a second one that I had to get a belt for, and I fixed it. And it's I think $150 to $200. I didn't paid $5 at a yard sale, but then I get it home, and it's like, well, they work great.
Yeah,
but then they're sitting there. And I could probably get my money back out of them at a yard sale if I did a yard sale, right? Mm-hmm. But like if I had a booth, that's not going to sell for that kind of money in a booth. It's going to be a $25 or $30 item locally. People they're not impressed by the model and the vintage. I mean, for the most part, you have to have the perfect person walk in. So it's either listed on eBay or you collect it or you just ship it off to someone else to look at, that's not going to list it. It's what it turns into, which I, in my mind, I say, well, I need to list it because I need the money, but then I still don't do it because then I got to pack it that sells. And I'm like, I just, it's not one of those things I look forward to.
Yeah.
So.
What you got for comment of the week?
All right. My comment was, I said, this is 10 Hemlock. He said, hey guys, my name is TC and I go by Absolute Finds. That's LOOT, Absolute Finds on all platforms. I've seen every episode on Thursdays, but never commented. I'm a reseller in upstate South Carolina and play drums on my worship team at church. So I'm right there with you guys on your morals. Love the content and how positive the show is. And, just a new commenter. We like to kind of shout out the new commenters when they do leave a comment. And so it's good to have you on board, TC. Glad you've been watching. And appreciate it.
Is that on this show? That might have been on your channel.
No, you missed it.
Where in the world?
You didn't comment. You didn't respond.
Really? I don't see it.
Yeah.
Was it last week's episode?
Yeah.
I don't see that anywhere. Huh. How weird.
I don't know. I thought it was strange because you always respond from our account. But
I try to answer everyone. I don't see. What was the name? Say that one more time.
10 Hemlock.
10?
Number 10 and then Hemlock. Yep. At 10 Hemlock. While you're looking, I got a question. I'm talking about things like, say, that record player. I'm just curious on those bigger items because I've thought about this. I know the cleaning and testing part's one of the hindrances, but I've thought it for myself. If I went ahead and did that part, because packing is one of my biggest issues, like knowing that when I list it, if it sells quick, if I don't have the box, whatever. So I've thought, would I be better off? I know some resellers do this. Would I be better off to own those items, try to put them to the front when I get them home before I get disenchanted with it, do the test and do the cleaning, take all the pictures and immediately get it in my mind that whether I've got to pick a box up in town or I've got to go to, one of the local stores and find one off of their rack, a used box or whatever, go ahead and pack it up and have it ready to ship, label it, put it on the shelf, ready to go. I've wondered to myself, if that would be a better strategy as, to hold myself accountable.
Yeah, I've done that with some of the bigger things that I know. This is going to take me 20 minutes to pack this thing right, to make sure that it gets there safe and everything. I have done that before, and I started doing it when I was doing this part-time, working at the radio station. I had limited time, if I wanted to do one day, next day shipping, limited time to pack.
Right.
And I didn't want something selling that was going to be a big time crunch in order for me to get it if it's going to be obnoxious to pack it up. So I did start packing some of those, if it's very breakable or a bigger electronics item or something like that.
Yeah.
There are select items that I will take pictures of, get it all done, and then just pack it. You do run into the problem of then if somebody wants has a question about it, about a specific picture, or does it have this or does it have that, you might run into that and have to deal with that. But yeah, if it's something that's going to take a while to pack, I've definitely done that, is just pre-pack it. And then it's super nice because when it sells, you just slap a label on it. Like,
Well, and I say that the reason I was curious about that, I mean, I don't know if you had done it, but I've like I said, I've seen other resellers do it. And I know for me, more than the cleaning, the testing and that kind of stuff, although the cleaning's not fun on some things, but more than that on the big items or items like, say, one of those record players, it's big and bulky, but then it's also got the plastic, that you got to be so careful not to break, not to let something like that get broken shipping. And we can all, we know we can pack to the degree that we can feel pretty good about it, as long as they don't run over it with the truck. But knowing that if it's sitting on the shelf, like, I don't worry about a VCR because except for the front of it, it's pretty much metal. You don't have to worry too much. Cushion the front really good. The rest of it's okay. But on something like that, it's such a large area that you got to make sure it's safe. And I know that gets in my head, just like a big glass item. It always gets in my head. And even though I know I can pack it safely, I don't want to have to. Yeah. So I just wonder, I've wondered if that would work better for me. I need to find a way to hold myself more accountable because Lord knows I could use the $400 sale,
Well, and what you could do now, especially, if there's not a lot of sales, like for me, there's not a lot of sales now on the weekend. Well, that opens up, you got to think about it of, well, normally I'd be spending 6 hours driving around to garage sales Saturday morning. I don't have that now. What do I do with those 6 hours? You could sleep in, and that's not a bad idea sometimes. But, hey, maybe I take some of those items and I bite the bullet, and that's what I do that morning, or at least part of the morning. I'm going to pick one item that I don't want to list and I don't want to pack and just go front to back with it.
Yep. I think that's good advice for all of us probably to take for ourselves, because I don't think there's probably, unless it's someone that sells only in one, just one singular niche. I think all of us that are everything resellers probably have items, whether we do right now or just from time to time, but most of us probably have, like you said, the foundation you said of your death pile. We probably all have quite a few that we can picture in our mind right now that we've been walking by for way too long just because we've left them sit there, and it becomes intimidating. It becomes almost like our nemesis. It's like, I see you
right here.
I see you, but I don't want to deal with you.
Like 3 feet away. Yeah. And I've sold it before, and that's what's making it worse. It's a Spirit Halloween Cerberus. It's the 3-headed dog animatronic.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you saw them?
I remember when you bought that.
I sold the spider this weekend. The Spirit Halloween spider, the jumping spider.
Yeah, that was one of my first big sales that I got from, and it wasn't for sale. The lady had all these like baby clothes, and I was like, you know what? I'm not interested in all this. I'd be interested in that if you're selling that, like kind of just trying to be friendly. She's like, well, what would you pay for it? And I ended up buying something not for sale. I was very excited. You know, it's pretty new reselling, got it home, put it all together, listed it. You know, because it was a big deal. Now I've got one and I know how much work that was.
Yeah.
Put it together and test it and take the pictures, and it's massive. It's just sitting there. But I think it's like a $400 item potentially.
Yeah.
Because I know that it sells. It's been sitting there since last summer. It's been sitting there for a year. I should just list the silly thing. But
I admire the resellers that we watch that buy big stuff like that all the time and always turn it over. I mean, there's some that do it, man. They just
and that's it, right? Like if you buy that's got to be your motivation for the big stuff, right? Is if I don't like taking care of this whole process, there's a whole bunch of other people that don't like taking care of this process, and they're either not going to buy it or it's sitting in their death pile. So if I list it, there's probably a pretty good chance that I'm going to sell it because the numbers of people listing it are smaller for whatever reason. Yeah. It's just, you gotta make yourself do it.
Yep.
Have you seen the girl? It's like a girl on a swing. She's got black eyes and a white dress.
I've got one.
I've got one too. If you ever find the motor that causes her to swing, it's worth like $400.
Yeah. I've got her. She's in a box.
Yep.
She's in here.
I listed mine, so I'm that far ahead of you.
Oh man.
I actually took one into the booth because I didn't want to ship it. I took a werewolf into the booth and set it up, and the didn't sell. So now I got to take it apart out of the booth. I'll probably take pictures of it, and since I have it all put together, I know it works, and maybe I can at least get that one listed. But yeah, I thought I'd take a shortcut and put one in the booth. It drew people into the booth for sure.
That's cool.
6.5-foot tall werewolf, like but it didn't sell. So now I have to deal with that.
Yeah. That's one of those cases of, you know, I was ready for Halloween, but Halloween wasn't ready for me.
Well, let's hit up a sale of the week.
All right.
And we'll let our guest go first. Troy, you want to share something you sold this week that's really good?
Yeah, after I told you my sales are down like 30%. You know, I've sold a handful of things that I'm that were pretty good. I sold a Harley t-shirt, or like a 3/4 sleeve t-shirt from the 90s. It was like $63, I think.
Oh, so
offer on it because things were slow, and so I was like, it was like a $75 listing, but it was just a guess on the number because there weren't any like it.
Yeah.
So that was good. I did sell a set of the Heart family. It's like a Barbie spin-off thing. They don't sell particularly well loose. Even new, they don't sell super well. But I found there's a mom and a kid and a dad and a kid. Neither one of them by themselves sell very well, but I put them together, and now there's a set, and that sold for $89.
Wow.
Oh, that was a nice sale. I was happy with that.
I'd be happy with those sales if my sales was down 30%.
Yeah. There were a few sprinkled in there.
Yeah,
that I was pretty happy with.
For sure. All right, Josh, what you got?
Well, actually, you probably saw mine. I put a picture of mine on Instagram. I sold a jacket that we've had for probably
3
or 4 months. You know, it's just some things you just wait till the right time of year. You know, if I'd have listed in the summer, it probably would have sat anyway. But I listed it, sold in like 2 days. It was a vintage Levi's A2 denim bomber jacket with the liner in it, and we paid $25, I think, for it. Sold for $115.
Nice.
So, yeah, I sent out an offer on. I listed it, I think, $125. I listed it kind of up. It was a smaller size. I think it was a medium. I believe it's a medium. So I didn't really expect it to get the top of the market because of that. So I was pretty happy with that for that price, you know, for that what we had in it. But
that's pretty sweet.
Cool items. I love vintage stuff like that. So
yeah,
my wife actually found that, so she was really tickled. She doesn't help me a whole lot, you know. That's one of those things. She came up to me and she's like, "You think you might be interested in this?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah, I think. How much is it? Yeah, put it in there. Exactly. You are useful."
Oh gosh. Not saying a word.
No, so her joke always is, we go in a thrift store, go to a yard sale, you know, he shops. She'll tell people, "Oh, he's shopping for eBay, but I shop for myself." I'm like, quiet, you know. If I choose to tell them, that's fine. I'm not one of them people that's paranoid about telling people what I do, but it's like, you ain't got to just go blowing the trumpet,
You ain't got to go around ringing the bell, right?
That's it. Foul. Foul on the play.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, man.
Well, we went to some yard sales. I want to say it was a community sale in one of the upper retirement villages here. And it was like a subdivision inside of one of them. And there wasn't really much going on inside there. At all the sales I've been to, there wasn't really a whole lot of good stuff. But I come up on this one, and it's one of those sales where you're like just falling all over yourself at what they have, but they've got it priced too high. Like it's good stuff, but they're too high. But I did find a couple of old Zelda books, player's guides for N64, and I found some old wrestling programs from like the 50s. And some stuff like that they didn't really take the time to look up. So I've sold both of the Zelda books. One of them is my sale of the week. Last week I sold one of them for $25. I had $2 in it. This week I sold the other one. It's The Legend of Zelda Ocarina. Is it Ocarina of Time? Is that how that was said?
Yeah.
Official strategy guide from Prima for $75. And I had it listed for like, I don't know, a week. And it is another one of them things like what you were just talking about, Troy, where you kind of guessed because, there were tons of the old Super Nintendo guides and there were tons of the other type for N64 and so on. But I only found like one that was this actual book, and it was $50-something. But man, it was like in horrible shape. Like it looked like somebody rolled it up, stuck it in their back pocket, creased everywhere, frayed. And I'm like, if they potentially get 50 for theirs, I'm going to try for 75, just see what happens. And it held out for about a week and finally sold. So I felt like that was a pretty good place I had it. And that was like a $2 buy-in, So I love that stuff because that's just, I actually boxed it because it's $75. I'm like, normally I'd slip it in an envelope, but bubble mailer, but I'm like, $75. I think I'll give them a box because they spent a lot of money on this. I want to get it there correctly and whatever. But I love buying stuff like that. It kind of satisfies a couple of different things. You get to go back to your childhood and satisfy that, look what I found feeling. And you get to sell it and make somebody else happy, and you get to make money at the same time. So that's my favorite kind of stuff.
My worst Zelda memory ever, Super Nintendo, Link to the Past, came with the system. I was not a huge video gamer, but I loved Zelda. And that was the only new video game system I ever got. I played a lot more sports games than adventure games and things like that and RPGs and stuff. But anyway, I had played that up to, I was in the final level, close to beating the game. My nephew, I think he was maybe like 5 or 6, something like that. Well, when I was gone, he turned my system on, deleted my save file, totally gone. I never played the game again. I never even opened it up. I was done with it. I spent so many hours getting there, I said, forget it. I'm through.
That just hurts your heart, man.
I'm through. Oh, man.
Well, at least now, now you got backups and cloud and all that. So
yeah, it's a lot different nowadays.
Oh man,
yeah. That little battery inside that cartridge meant the world back then, though.
I don't know how many times like my nieces and nephew had come through, and I'm playing back. By the time my nieces and nephew got old enough, it was probably like PlayStation 1, and they'd come through, and I'd be playing like Resident Evil or something, and they'd come through and hit that reset button. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill you. What did you just do?
Yeah.
They were good for that.
Me.
We do want, I did want to mention something found out a few minutes ago. I wanted to say happy birthday to Christine Harden. It'll be her birthday. I believe it's on the 9th, which would be Saturday, a couple days after this comes out. She's one of our most faithful supporters. She has been here pretty much from the beginning. And we just wanted to wish you happy birthday, Christine. Hope you have a great, great day. And also, Josh, I was looking at what am I trying to say? I was looking at the episodes the other day. I was kind of sprucing stuff up. Mm-hmm. You are now the most tenured old guy besides myself. You've got Chris beat now. You're on episode. This is like your 37th episode with me, and he was just up to 35. So you passed him up.
Awesome. I guess that's a good thing.
I guess. I mean, at least we're still around, right? We're still
I've hung in there, so we'll see.
Hung in there. That's right.
It won't be long. It'll be a year that we've been doing it together. So
that's
pretty cool. You know,
that's
it's
crazy.
going by quick. It seems like I've known you now for 10 years, but
I know. Well, I have that effect on people. It's not always a good thing.
Not a bad way, you know, but it feels like it's funny at this point. It really, to me, I mean, being honest, it feels almost like it's just a childhood friend that lives somewhere else that you get to hang out with, you know, once a week online like this. So, I mean,
I can totally get that same vibe about Troy already.
Absolutely.
Just talking with you, it's like a buddy I knew back, you know, when I was a kid and reconnected with. I mean, that's just how it feels.
No, you guys are great.
That's the good thing about the community of you know, reselling. That one thing links us so much. Like, it gives us so much to talk about that who cares what, you know, like, you don't have to talk about a whole lot of other stuff, but
and that's whether it's our show or like when you get asked to be a guest on someone else's program or something. I mean, that it does from time to time, but that mental, it's almost like, you know, a mental health day, you know, when you get to do that, because you know, it's just, there's something that's just, I look forward to this day, whether we have guests or not, you know, every week, because I've told you before, it's so refreshing because I don't have anyone to talk this stuff. I talk to my wife, but you know, it's like a one-sided conversation, you know. I mean, and I understand.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, you saw something good.
I keep thinking I'm going to convince her to like reselling, and maybe one day I will, but so far it's been hard. I told her this week, and I said,
another ice cream if she likes it.
Yeah. I told her this week, and I said, you know, if you listed one item a day, because I mean, I think about too, if something happens, you know, and someone, because if you get dependent on the income, then it has to be taken care of if you're sick or something happens to you, you know, and so, you know, when my arm, you know, when I hurt my arm, we weren't there yet where we were dependent on it, but you know, here I ruptured my distal biceps tendon a couple years back, or a year and a half ago, I guess now. And so, you know, I mean, it's kind of hard to pack, you know, after a surgery when you can't even use one arm. I mean, there's not much you can do. So, you know, it was tough. And so, you know, you never know when something like that's going to happen. I'm like, babe, you need to at least know how to pull items, how to pack items, how to print the labels, how, even if you don't do it, you know, do it once every 2 or 3 months as a refresher. You just need to know how, because we need the income at this point if something were to happen. But man, that's like I said, you know, that'd be over 300 items, you know, 300, 350, even if it wasn't every single day, but just one a day. That's a lot of items in the year. I said, you know, if you got up to 3 a day, that'd be like an extra 1,000 items listed and sold every year, you know, I mean, so, but you know, that's one thing to say it, another thing to make it happen.
We want to mention a couple more things before we get to our dad joke, and then we'll head out. But I did find out another interesting little tidbit. I was on Spotify, and by the way, if you're listening on YouTube, go over and follow us on Spotify. That'll help us over there if you can. Sub on YouTube if you're on Spotify. That'll help us over here. There's other places all down in the description. I don't even remember. There's so many different places. But on Spotify, it gives you some unique analytics. We have been heard in over 26 countries. I was like, good grief. I didn't know there was 26 countries. Well, I did, but you know, it's like some of them, it's like, I don't even know if I've even heard of this country. And it may just be like one unique listen out of that country, but we've been there. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just to know that. Also wanted to mention my reseller Genie, our promo code 2 Old Guys ! It's getting closer and closer to tax time. So if you guys need help, that's a good one to use. And I was looking, we have this link below also. If you need a bank account, Chime. And I'm going to say this, I never plug this, but I really like Chime because it separates my personal bank from my reselling revenue. And it, to me, it makes it a whole lot easier for me to keep up with the accounting side of things because it's not all sprinkled in together. Okay, that's enough shilling out all of our stuff. Sorry.
That's good. Anything else that you want to add, Troy, before we get to the joke?
No. Well, I mean, I guess the one thing you mentioned, like getting help, you know, if you're down and you need somebody packing that day or whatever. My wife can do that. She has done that.
Yeah.
But the issue is if I was unconscious, or if I have to tell her where the things are, because my system is I remember I put that in the left tote on the top shelf. Should be right in the front.
Yeah.
Now, if it's something that was like 3 years old, then it's like, well, it's in one of these two bins. I hope. It's not the best, right? Like, it's not good. And so, it works for me. I very, very rarely lose something. But if somebody else has to do it, it's a problem. And so, especially for newer resellers, starting out, because it was very easy for me to start out and I had one shelf. It was easy, but it went from one shelf to lots of bins very quickly before I realized it. And then it's hard to go back. And so
very hard to go back.
If you're just starting, or, even if you've been going for a little bit, or like me, I'm trying to go back now and use like that custom SKU, and that way I know where things are. Because it's the worst feeling to sell something and go, oh shoot, I don't know where that is. But if you're down and you need somebody else to take care of it for you, if they don't know your system, then it's a hassle. I've had to be out of town helping with my parents or whatever, and then that night I'm on video call with my wife going, okay, look in this bin, let's look in this bin. It's just ridiculous. So that would be my advice of along those lines. If you need somebody to help you, you have to help them first. So have that stuff organized.
And I think you bring up a good point, and I've heard different sides of that on the organizational structure, in different ways that people do it. And I do think I think it's a good statement when people say, find the system that works for you. But many times when we make when that's where we arrive at, it's really just us bypassing the fact that we're too disorganized for someone else to follow our system. And it's not going to be convenient when it starts, and it may not be your personality. You may not be type A where that is how you operate. But like you said, if once it becomes something that you're depending on, if it's an income revenue sort, like if it's just a side gig and you can shut the store down, for 3 months while that's one thing. But if you're depending on that and someone's going to have to be able to step in, I've been doing the same thing you're talking about. I've been doing, and some of my stuff was skewed. My clothes, once I got to a certain amount of clothes listed, it was taking me too long to dig through the totes to find something. I couldn't remember the exact one. So I went back and I did skew all of those. And then as I added to, I continued to skew any clothes that I listed. So that part was done. But I've started going through, not just, I'm doing review over all of my inventory, delisting, getting rid of some things that are just not going to sell, bad buys that I didn't realize maybe at the time, or reprice, all that stuff we do. But as part of that, I'm going to go through everything as I go, and Lord willing, all the things that are just like you said, I know where they're at. I got a lot of tubs, and to me it makes sense. I know that this type of items are in this tub and this tub, but if I had to use a phone like you said or something like that, or try to describe to my wife how to go find it, oh my goodness, man, it would take so long. And so I know that if I get organized and I give those, even if they're still just in a tub, but it's like tub 37, it's definitely in tub 37 somewhere. You will find it. Even if that's as organized as it is, that's still workable for somebody else. And, I'm doing a slow crawl through all of my inventory to try to make that happen, because, I realize now more than ever, because I've been doing this now for just a little over a year full time, that is so important, because we depend on that extra income to supplement, what my wife is making. Much like you, my wife still works full time in a public job, so it's important. I think it's great advice and
good advice for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's Mr. Organization, so he don't have to worry about it.
Oh, well, I try.
Spreadsheet, and he just makes me sick. Don't like him sometimes. He talks about it too much.
Sorry. I like to know where it's at. I like to go get it and just get it out, and I don't want to dig and hunt and peck and find. I've actually heard people argue against the totes and the tubs and bins and things, and I'm like, I get it. I get what they're wanting to do is they sit it on a shelf. They want to be able to walk by and look at the shelf and okay, that one, like grab it. To me, and that's totally a workable system if that's what somebody wants to do. But to me, I have these bins that are like 15 inches deep, 8 inches wide, 10 inches tall. you can't get a ton of stuff in that, but you can get 10, 15, 20 listings. It's a good amount. And you also don't have to like dig all day to find what's in there. And 4 of those fill up my shelves perfectly. There's not any, there's just a little bit of space in between them. And you're not wasting a ton. But I just, when you really, really get down to doing this full time and you're spending a 40-hour work week doing this, the only way you give yourself a raise is by getting more efficient.
Yeah,
that's the only way. And if I spend 3 hours a week finding things that could have been found in a half hour, I've lost 2.5 hours worth of listing time or whatever. So efficiency, and I really do preach that on my channel. When I do have a channel, I do preach it. But
it's kind of like when you list.
Yeah, when I actually do these things, I tell people how to do. It's helpful. But no, I mean, it really does help me, and it's all about. That's why I love eBay or reselling in general. You can run this business how it works best for you. There is no, well, you got to do it this way. I mean, I've heard a lot of YouTubers out there that will say this is the way to do it, and I'm like, you do it how it works best for you. And if it's making you money and it's working well, I don't see a reason to change it. Be willing to learn if there's other ways that you might trigger something in your mind that you'll go, hey, that's a good idea. Be willing to glean and pick up on those things along the way. But yeah, I mean, if it's working, more power to you.
Gotcha.
All right,
I
John.
got one last question for Troy before we move on to the last part. I'm just curious, what is your favorite part of reselling? I mean, what actually drew you to it more than anything else? Or maybe now looking back, what's your favorite part?
Yeah. Well, initially we started thinking, I had a buddy that did this. He doesn't anymore, actually, but I discovered this was his job. And I was like, wait, that's a job? I had no idea. And at the time, I was trying to figure out how we could pay off my student loans, because you make that minimum payment, you're never going to get that thing paid off. It was taking us so long, and my wife had hers, and I wanted to find a way that I basically find a side gig of how can I pay these things off. And so I thought, if we can sell, $100, $200 a month, that's going to help add money to student loan payment. And that's where it started. And very quick, I mean, I cut like 10 years off of my payment schedule, and we paid that thing off ultimately. And so that's how it started, is just I needed a side gig that I could make extra money in. Now it sounds silly, but I certainly like the money. I have to live off the money now.
Yeah.
But what's neat about reselling is we save a little bit of the past, and we connect people with, you're talking about memories of Zelda. We just mentioned Zelda and everybody's like, oh, I remember that, right? Like, yeah. And so, that $75 book or that $25 book, or, even when I find silly little figurines and I sell those for $10, it's $10, but now that's sitting on somebody's shelf and it's bringing them back to their childhood, and they look at that and they have a nice memory. Or, I sold one of those aluminum trees a couple years ago, aluminum Christmas trees. Yeah. Well, the lady that bought it messaged me and said she bought it because the stamp on the bottom of the box was from the factory that her dad worked at.
Oh, wow.
Little. And more than likely, he had a part in actually making that actual tree.
Oh, that's cool.
She wanted to remember her dad. And so she bought that tree because her dad helped to make the tree. That's incredible, honestly.
That's a great story, man.
Do something like that for somebody. Yeah. I think that's a neat thing. So whether it's a big memory like that, or just, bringing back selling a little toy that somebody remembered and they can set it on a shelf, or they can give it to their grandkid and hope that they pick up love for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know how it sounds, but I love that. I think it's really cool.
Oh yeah. Same here.
I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Dunn, Happy Heart Treasures. But she says this, he kind of left, she will use this phrase that they're not resellers, they're rehomers. They find a new home for something that otherwise would be thrown away, discarded, or, maybe like you said, it's not always something that's not valuable, but I just like that perspective. I think that's a really cool perspective that they're finding the home that it belongs in, the home where the person appreciates it. And we waste a lot, but more than that, I think, man, that's a great story. The reconnecting to the memories, the nostalgia, I think that draws a lot of us into it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you watch unfortunately, it's now like 2 weeks old, but my last video, I came into some really cool like military stuff, sort of on accident. Turned out to be from one guy, National Medal of Honor winner.
Wow.
Not something that I want to part out and sell. You watch the video, kind of explain. This guy's literally, I mean, he's a hero.
Right.
He was a war hero, and now I came into possession of this stuff that needs to be preserved somewhere. I'm in the process of trying to get a hold of a couple of museums and different places like that. Where else would I get to do something like that?
Absolutely.
A piece of history like that.
Yeah.
That's another branch of, stuff that we get to do. It's a cool thing. It really is.
It is.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, Josh, you ready to lose another week?
Huh? What's that?
Nothing. Here we go. I totally didn't set you up for that, by the way. All right. We will let our guest go first. If you have a dad joke, Troy, I don't know if you.
I've got plenty. I don't know if, I didn't realize this was a competition that we were going to have here. So
this is like deathmatch type stuff, right?
Yeah. So now I'm on the spot.
Friendly.
I had to bring like a competitive level joke here. Okay. So my dog is super smart. He's always picked up tricks really well. And so I thought, let's see how well he does with math. Right. So yesterday I asked him, I says, "Hey, Jaeger, what's 2 minus 2? He said nothing.
Smart dog.
Smart dog.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
I like it. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. All right, Josh, go ahead.
All right. So we've ventured away from they're still just clean, fun jokes, but a little bit away from some just straight up dad jokes. This one's really short though. Hope y'all like this one. So, did you ever hear about the dyslexic agnostic insomniac?
No.
He just stayed up all night wondering if there was a dog.
That's pretty good.
We're on team now. What do you got for dogs?
That's it.
Oh man, that's pretty good. I don't have a dog joke. That's pretty good. All right. So why does Humpty Dumpty love autumn?
Everything falls.
Oh, because Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. That's 3 decent jokes this week.
Yeah, I like it.
Not bad.
It's a good way to end things with a smile. That's what.
Yeah, absolutely. On an upbeat kind of
Yep.
happy ending. That's exactly right. Well, Troy, man, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, spending time with us. We don't take your time lightly. We know that you're busy, and we really appreciate you taking an hour and a half, man, out of your day and just hanging out with us. And we'll have you back if you'll come back and spend time with us, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
sounds good. Enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us this time. Episode 74 in the books, and we will see you guys next week here on Two Old Guys. Take care.
Out.
Bye-bye.